saying the way that, let's say, conversational, terrorists or somebody that wants to kind of engage you in their point of view and they kind of force their point of view, like the typical family dinner, and you have the person that all of a sudden inserts their political beliefs and they're already coming at it they're not really trying to debate anything, they're just trying to insert their opinion, and it's already so charged with anger and this and that, and they know, and they already have their facts lined up, like already in their head. They're not even open to trying to hear the other perspective. They just are ready to shoot out their, little well of facts that they found, their recent, collection of articles or whatever. Yeah. And it's depleting everybody else. And, it's a hard thing to, it's a hard thing not to let yourself get triggered or engage, and especially if you have a belief that would, because some people, they just won't even, like, let's say somebody's bringing up like political things, some people, they'll simply walk away from the table, go do something else, because they're not even in the, but somebody else that has the opposite, right, belief, like in the politics, whether they're on a different party, they believe in a different, whatever, Republican, Democrat, right? Mm-hmm. Or if they have a spiritual, bigger type of beliefs, they might actually get triggered to engage. Mm-hmm. But we have to be selective.
About that, I really have to control myself.
Hold on, because I'm recording, but I can't hear the word you're saying. And the washing machine's bumbling here too.
I'm saying that the conversation that I have today, it was very easy for me to get engaged and start fighting and start, defending myself or bringing stuff from our past, experience. Mm-hmm. And
because he was kind of pointing out specifics that would,
was like, and it was just.
Yeah, especially when people pull out specific things that you're like, wait a minute, I have a completely different memory of this, because that gets personal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when they start going for personal things, then you're really like put to the test of how am I gonna either, dissipate these energies or not engage or come at it with humor, or, what am I gonna do? Not to just end up being entangled with their program. Because it's a program, it's just it's different to have a contradicting, there's nothing wrong with having different opinions. If somebody, let's say, is a Democrat, someone's a Republican, and they truly sit down, like, I really want to hear your perspective, help me understand. And both of them, they can talk, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is, again, the inserting of somebody's,
They don't want to hear.
They don't want to hear. They just want to insert and they want to get all riled up because it's an entity that is just feeding on energy through them. It's feeding on them simultaneously and trying to get you entangled. But what I wanted to say is also the same applies for light workers that are in their super light polarity, right? They want to go, and every single person they run into on the street, they're going to start talking about that they're poisoning the water, the food, and the air, and everything else, which is all true. But it's also because there's an aspect, the same thing, that is feeding on them as well. Washing machine's bugging me. Okay, they have this need to be good, and it's an entity too. My need to be good, I'm going to be so good that I'm going to go and I'm going to force my perspectives to people that you can try, but you have to read if somebody's actually listening, or you're just throwing up your light onto them, force feeding them your facts or whatever it is. It can become the same thing. It's like, even if your intentions are, it comes down to intentions again, because the same as I said, if your intentions are, if you have two different parties and they are willing, my intention is to try to hear this person and their perspective, and I'm open to shifting my beliefs or coming to a conclusion, or at least recognizing someone's beliefs and keeping my own if that feels right. But very little people in this day and age, I feel like, come to any conversation, whether it be in, light or dark or middle or whatever, all the different shades. They already come with like
they come to defending themselves, period. The conversation they have is more entertaining. They know how it's going to start, they know how it's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
There is no conclusion, there is no listening each other, there is forcing their information without hearing the other people, the partner information,
Yeah.
and combining them together and say, wait a minute, maybe we can maybe we even see the same things, which is because we don't hear each other, we don't even see that we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, like when that's what I was saying, how important it is to actually take the time to define certain words, because you might be having a 3-hour debate with a group of people about karma, and or love, or words, or freedom, right? Like, just generally how much language has such different meanings, those types of words, for different people. And especially, let's say, in America, where we're such a melting pot of different cultures and everything, right? Somebody maybe that came from India versus somebody that's been in the States their whole life, maybe their definition of karma is completely opposite. And they've been, let's say, arguing this whole time, but then when they actually say their definitions, they realize, wait, we believe in the exact same thing. We didn't realize that we had different definitions of the words. So, yeah, it's all, I think, one of the huge things for, speaking of Ascension and Earth going into 5D, it's really going to be about the throat chakra and learning how to communication. Without, community, communication, commune. If you want to be, again, and that goes to the light too, oneness, and it's about having communication skills, simply. If you want to have a community, you need to have conflict resolution.
Yeah.
In the lower dimensions, when you reach those higher planes and you're in 7th, 8th dimension, conflict exists in a different type of way, or telepathy, right? Here, we're not anywhere close as a human species to be telepathic. Trust me, you do not want to be tapped into everything your neighbor's thinking. It would be, a lot. And then our own self, how hard is it to even be telepathic with our own self, with our own voice. We don't want to hear certain parts of ourselves. That's what shadow work is about. That's what integration is about. Integrity, integration. If you can integrate all those parts of yourself, right? That's why they say start with yourself. Then you can become a step closer to being able to take on, telepathically taking on another person's thoughts and things. And generally, us empaths, a lot of us are old souls and we have this innate ability, but that's why it's both a blessing and a curse when it comes to in this 3D reality, because sometimes I would want to turn my empathy off. I was even completely unaware that that's what it is, that I'm, constantly I can feel other people's feelings. I know there's no lying to me. I like how a reading that I had by Debbie Solaris, she said, "You got your bullshit meter finally tuned." But I agree when it comes to especially the emotions, because I feel like I've been wrong about people. Cognitively, people can lie. It's a different type of mastery, I feel like. You know what I mean, Momo? People have surprised me in that kind of way. We can be good liars. But but the empathy, if you tune into that kind of feeling, I could feel. Somebody could tell me that they're happy, up till they're blue in the face, or tell me, that they're fine or whatever. It's like I feel that there's a layer that they might not even be recognizing in themselves. But I have to be careful too, because that can also be a projection of myself.
Projection plus, very often people are not ready to hear.
No, but I'm saying, like, it can be my own wound that it's, I might assume that
but
they're...
even if you feel or sometimes, you have to hold it for yourself, because in the same time you know that this person is not ready.
No, relax. We are having train of thought moments here. Because
No,
being very disruptive. Very disruptive.
Yeah, I'm kind of gone. So I'm saying, just like sometimes, even if you feel what that other person feel, you have to hold it for yourself. You have to keep it for yourself, because, it can be frightening, for that person, to hear what you say. And
well, that's exactly where we started off, not to vomit your...
So
whether it be your intuition about their feelings or simply information or anything, it's like, are they willing to hear this? Are they willing to hear? Are they willing to, am I going to, because you can harm, that's the thing. It's like you can harm people by, even if your beliefs are more in alignment, let's say, with, by light, I mean simply the energies that respect the law of do not harm another sentient being. That's how I describe light, right? But if those beings that respect that, like, we don't realize, even if that's, let's say right now, what we want, that is our intention. We have to be, like, aware of when we're actually doing the opposite. You know what I mean? We're trying to respect the law of do not harm another sentient being, but sometimes by our holiness or guru-ness, or, the opposite, or political beliefs or whatever, because sometimes then even with them, their intentions are often, they don't have bad, like right now, it's going to come up, the whole thing with, like vaccines. Right now we're in the, whatever date it is, July 3rd. June 1st, 2020, July 1st, 2020, coronavirus, all that going on, and it's going to be, in the next years to come and months to come, it's going to be division of who wants to have a vaccine, who doesn't want to have a vaccine, and it's going to be each person, like, we have to really realize where we are coming from, that because the people, let's say, that are not that are wanting the vaccine, they're going to be pissed at the people that don't want the vaccine, because they're going to say, because of you, we're going to get more sick, and it's going to spread then the people that don't want the vaccine, which I'm going to be on that side personally, we have a perspective that a lot of people they won't understand our perspective as to why. And the point is, though, both perspectives, we are coming from wanting our loved ones and ourselves to be healthy. And again, if those two sides can learn to communicate, understanding each other's perspective, really, like, coming at it openly, why wouldn't you want a vaccine, or why would you? Instead of coming with the charge and polarity, like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't go to the bar and drink now and everything is closed because, these people won't get their vaccine. That's what that side, because they just want their regular life to return. And it's mostly those that aren't awakened to a bigger agenda, and not that every vaccine is bad, but a lot of them, I don't even want to get into those kinds of subjects, because I know it's like right away triggers people. But my point is, again, if we sat down and truly, with an open heart and open mind, tried to understand one another's perspective, even the virus itself would start being not a frequency match to making us ill, because we will raise our frequency instead of fighting. And that's what the, let's say, cabal and systems that be, what is the flow? Their whole thing is to keep us fighting with one another, those that are implementing this plan or that plan, right? Again, why don't we figure out our own plan, which would be communication? Not just, wait, who's making this vaccine? What is in this vaccine, right? We just trust, again, because we don't communicate, whatever is thrown upon us. I actually don't have anything against a vaccine, but I want to know what is it? Not just trust the powers that be. Oh yeah, they know what's good for us. That's the problem. And that's what communication will start healing and merging, and we can come up with our own solutions, because there are a lot of geniuses and, you know, the new kids even coming and stuff that are going to start bringing in amazing ideas and alternative methods where maybe we don't need to go into that kind of, you know, reality. Okay. Want to say anything? No? Maybe you do want to say something. Maybe you do. I sound like an asshole, by the way. I know that a lot of the posts, it sounds like I just talk and my mom is like interrupting and yeah. But especially in the night hours, I feel like the last year and a half, a lot of the information, it's like I feel like it's streaming down. It's almost like I'm talking faster than I could think. Then there's other also where I talk really slow. That's where it becomes like very, I feel like it's very high dimensional kind of information. Then I actually go into it's almost like my speech kind of starts, I was laughing, my tongue, like, it's like a lisp kind of almost when it's talking like listen to the information. But right now I feel like it's just kind of, I started posting a lot of things that are, you know, connected with those kinds of spiritual, you know, down the rabbit hole, and a lot of times I feel like it's me kind of tapped in and I'm posting those, but I just can't keep up with the human self. There's so many different topics and things that we've been recording, and childhood stories and preschool stories and all kinds of different things, and Mama will be a lot more
Mama is
present
quiet,
in those.
Mama recognize and try not to interrupt, but
Well, you're getting, like, you're recognizing, because it's new. We had a conversation. I said how many people are mother and daughter, twin flame, you know, a lot of the work we're here to do together. I don't know any spiritual, let's say, teacher or channel or anything that do a duo kind of work. So, and this is new for me. I'm also learning how to, you know, engage with that kind of streaming, downloading, whatever, and also have my, how to co-create with it, where sometimes I literally have to turn it off, say, okay, enough, because it's a lot on the physical body. Like, I get very my neck gets very tense and tight sometimes, and with certain types of information. So it's hard sometimes to find a balance, like, you know, because maybe my mom in that moment too, she's kind of receiving something that is just as important and just as wise, right? So even if it's not like that kind of straight channel, there's not one thing that's better than another, even if it's just your human perspective, right? My higher channeled perspective, let's say, because higher isn't actually better, it's just higher means just higher dimensional. It's not a better or worse, it's just different. So it can be just as important, but specifically when you're streaming that, it's very fast, and it feels kind of like, if I don't say this now, it'll be gone. Anyways, our audio voice recorder cut off, so I sound like an asshole again right when Mama was about to say something. I actually think we kept talking for another 10 minutes, and then I found out that somehow I think one of the doggies touched the audio stop button, so I guess that wasn't meant to be recorded. But yeah, it's just figuring out something that is new and learning how to, you know, give each other space and co-create together. like we have a really unusual relationship. Like mom is like my best friend in the whole entire world, and I know that we've been around and around together in all kinds of different forms, and she's like, we've had so many discussions where it's just like I feel like I couldn't do the work that I'm here to do, and not just in this life but through many lives, without her. Like she was my anchor, and vice versa. Like she was always there when I fell more asleep in many lifetimes. She was there to help me remember who I am, and then when she fell more asleep, I would help her remember who she is. And you know, in the bigger aspect, that's what we're all doing for one another. That's why like Ascension and all of that, it's not a race. It's not like a who's better, who's faster, and that we have to compete. Because when we compete in the unhealthy kind of way with, like, let's say jealousy and things like that, we're actually holding back our own accelerated growth. Because when we realize the community that we are and the interconnection that we hold between one another, then we will truly be happy when we see another like accessing their gifts, being in their joy, being in their power. When we perceive that, we will know that by them being in that space, they are shining all these codes that are then going to help our own self access ours. And it's just, the more that happens, it's like momentum starts happening, and we all start I mean, that's that weaving back into that oneness that my brain is like. But I wanted to record a couple more thoughts on this before I post it, just because I wasn't too sure if it was completely clear what I was saying before about, you know, me and Mama, and that we're supposed to do some work together. It's not, that's kind of like vague, but I know that we are doing certain work together and certain work too. Like, we have our differences. But I feel like we can make a whole separate video about just the awakening, you know, process that we've been through together, and you know, that whole journey. So right now when I'm speaking about this, I feel like all these different things are coming into my head that I could share, but I don't want to veer too off topic. But I just wanted to just say that with that, like with two of us that are more having like a friendship sister relationship, and now with even all the coronavirus and everything, first we were practically living together, and now Mama's here in her own apartment in the same complex as me. So we have like a little bit of, you know, we each have our place to give each other space from one another, but we're still together every day, and that's amazing. But yeah, it's just every relationship, it needs to learn how to co-create and how to still let each other be our independent selves, and how to strengthen one another's gifts and not overshadow them. But specifically with something with like a new energy that's coming in, where we're awakening to this whole new self inside that we'd forgotten that we even have. We have to pretty much give each other some slack, because in this human 3D form, to figure it out, like, how we're not going to be perfect at it. I'm not going to be perfect at it. Yeah, when I'm streaming down, I feel like information that's coming so fast, and it's something that I haven't maybe mastered yet, and it's been going on for a few years, then yes, there will be times where maybe I interrupt in the wrong moment because I feel like I need to say something, but, you know, and not being sensitive to, wait, hold on, maybe they have something to say and it's just as valid. But I'm learning, I'm going through my process, and I think we all are. So I think it's just recognizing where we're wrong sometimes, and just working on how to better it, how to be a better team, how to be a better, friends, how to be better supporters, healers, everything that we are, communicators, how to recognize one another pretty much. And that's not a specific destination. I think that's a journey. And in some way, this journey that we're going through, actually the process of seeing these whole new sides of one another, it's amazing. Like it's pretty fascinating. And like, my mom, she listens to me talk sometimes, and she's like completely, whoa, like I didn't ever think that I'd hear you in this kind of way. So it's a whole new layer of me that she's saying. And the same with her. I'm seeing her in her meditative trance, like her hands and everything just moving as if she's underwater, and energy shooting around and all this. And she started using her voice too, and like singing and doing light language, which she was never. I was always like the musician in the family, like my father. And even though my mom had the sensitivity for music, she never really, she kind of shut down her voice really, really, really young. But she started using it again. So it's just, and then I'm seeing that in her, and it's amazing. It's kind of like, and I think that's what we're going to start seeing on the big scale in all of each other. Like we're going to start seeing these layers that are going to surprise us, and these magical things coming out of people that we would never even suspect that they have that inside. So I think, that's the whole ascension process. Like it's going to be really actually pretty incredible and pretty amazing. And the first also, or not first signs of that, but one of the big things that we could even see that in right now is the kids coming through. Like the kids coming through are, all it takes is to watch, even though the shows themselves, what they're run by and everything, I know, like The Voice, America's Got Talent, all these things, I know who's behind those shows and the agendas and things like that and the bullshit. But the people's talent, I still like to watch it on YouTube and see like different people's performances and things they come up with. Like we are all master souls, and the young kids coming in right now, they are going to keep blowing our minds to what is possible. And I think as adults and all of us here, that's also what we're going through. Like, so it's important to try to see each other more like not thinking, oh, this is never going to happen, like this person's never going to change, or this person's never going to be this or that, because even in this just short period of time, like the change in the last few years, we can even surprise our own self. So it's important to not have those limiting beliefs and see each other with infinite potentials and infinite gifts of what we can awaken to, and try to hear each other, again, back to conversation, and support one another's growth, yet also hold space when we don't always have to be on a fast, accelerated. There's also the beauty and perfection in just those moments where we don't feel like, doing anything or creating anything, or even when we're in those shadow spots or depressed spots and things like that. That doesn't make us any worse. Like that is also just as important and just as valid, and actually in some way the soul in those moments that is, let's say they are a person that is in that kind of depressive state, right? But they're only depressed because their soul, it still wants to feel alive. So they're uncomfortable. But there's so much beauty in that, like in that pain, that even through that pain, we still are fighting for something, like fighting for that life and fighting to have that next day of maybe I will feel creative again and express because that's what we are. We're creators. We're creator beings, creative energies, and creative energies, they desire to express themselves. But at the point where we are, we need to also have those moments of healing and some forms of stagnation sometimes, and we need to hold that space also in recognition for both others and ourselves. Yeah. All right. I'll leave it at that for this recording.